Tiffany Henyard in court today over illegal appointments she allegedly made for several positions inside the village, among them.
I'm a private investigator. I've got some books that says supermayor. Inside I have from the United States District Courtroom in District of Illinois.
The events unfolding in Thornton Township, Dolton, Illinois, are reminiscent of a gripping TV drama, but this is real life. Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who has proudly dubbed herself the Super Mayor, has long been a polarizing figure. From her audacious leadership style to allegations of corruption and extravagant spending, her tenure has been anything but ordinary. However, the latest development marks a stunning turning point in her political career. Federal agents recently arrested Henyard at her Dolton home. This shocking twist has left the community divided. Some see it as long-awaited justice, while others believe Henyard is the target of political sabotage. Except for one daily newspaper, don't try to think twice about her.
Last month, a judge issued a temporary restraining order blocking her from making those appointments without approval from trustees.
To understand how things reached this point, it's important to revisit the rise of Tiffany Henyard. She ascended to prominence with bold promises and an even bolder personality. Henyard didn't just aim to be a mayor or township supervisor. She wanted to be a transformative force, branding herself as the Super Mayor. Her face appeared everywhere, on billboards, event flyers, and even welcome signs, ensuring no one in Dolton or Thornton Township could forget who was in charge. Reactions to her style were mixed. Many admired her charisma, calling her a relatable leader, unafraid to challenge the status quo. Others, however, viewed her self-promotion as a red flag, accusing her of prioritizing her image over the community's needs. From the outset, her leadership style sparked controversy. Board meetings under Henyard's tenure often devolved into shouting matches, with her clashing against trustees who accused her of bypassing established protocols and making unilateral decisions. For residents who attended these meetings, the spectacle was equal parts entertaining and troubling. Supporters saw her as a strong, determined woman pushing back against entrenched political resistance, while critics labeled her behavior as reckless and self-serving.
All our security firm, we made sure they had wands, and we also told our board to come upstairs due to the fact they had several ways to exit out of the building.
One of the earliest controversies that thrust Tiffany Henyard into the spotlight was her use of township funds. Reports emerged that she had charged tens of thousands of dollars to government credit cards for what appeared to be personal expenses. These weren't minor purchases, think high-expend furniture and luxury travel. Perhaps the most jaw-dropping revelation was an alleged $40,000 spending spree on an online retailer in a single day. Community members were outraged, demanding answers about why their tax dollars were being used for what they saw as lavish, unnecessary indulgences. Henyard denied any wrongdoing, insisting the expenses were all for the benefit of the township. However, as more details came to light, her explanations began to lose credibility. Another flashpoint was the infamous skating rink project. Touted as a community initiative, the rink cost millions but quickly became a source of frustration for residents. It was rarely open, and when it was, many felt it served more as a venue for Henyard's personal events than as a public resource. Critics slammed the project as a vanity endeavor, accusing her of prioritizing her image over the community's needs. Her supporters, however, argued that she was trying to bring something positive to Dolton, and that her efforts were being unfairly maligned.
We believe strongly that that meeting was improperly called and improperly held. The residents of Dolton.
The skating rink wasn't the only project to spark outrage over Tiffany Henyard's leadership priorities. Residents were equally incensed by her decision to allocate township funds to a series of concerts featuring relatively unknown performers. Branded as community engagement initiatives, these events reportedly cost taxpayers over $880,000. Despite the hefty price tag, some concerts drew fewer than 50 attendees. Critics slammed the spending as a blatant misuse of public funds, while Henyard's office defended the concerts as efforts to bring cultural enrichment to Thornton Township. Thornton Township wasn't alone. One frustrated resident quipped, "We're struggling to keep our streets clean, and she's out here throwing parties nobody asked for." Another point of contention was her handling of township buses. These vehicles were frequently used to transport her supporters to political events, including the controversial caucus where Henyard was denied a spot on the ballot. Witnesses reported that the buses arrived late, leaving her supporters, many of them seniors, stranded in freezing temperatures. Henyard claimed the incident was evidence of voter suppression orchestrated by her opponents, but critics viewed it as emblematic of her administration's disorganization. She wanted to pack the caucus with her people, but she couldn't even manage that properly, one attendee remarked. The image of elderly supporters shivering outside became a powerful symbol of discontent, with many saying it epitomized disregard for the very people she claimed to represent.
My vetoes. So I got several vetoes here to the board.
Adding to the frustration was Tiffany Henyard's ongoing feud with the Dalton Park District, a separate government entity. Park officials allege that Henyard deliberately withheld permits needed for park improvements, jeopardizing grants worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Without those permits, projects to upgrade playgrounds and other recreational facilities risked losing critical funding, potentially leaving taxpayers to cover the costs. Critics accused Henyard of using the permit delays as political retaliation, claiming she was punishing the park district for allowing her opponents to host meetings on its property. Henyard's office denied the allegations, but the delays further fueled accusations that her leadership was more focused on settling personal scores than addressing community needs. As controversies mounted, Henyard's relationship with the Dalton Village Board of Trustees continued to deteriorate. Trustees accused her of bypassing them on major decisions, including the hiring of key officials. One such hire was her hand-picked police chief, who critics claimed was unqualified for the role. The appointment sparked widespread outrage, with many seeing it as yet another example of Henyard's disregard for proper governance. The controversy culminated in a legal challenge, and a judge ultimately ruled that the police chief could only serve in an interim capacity. The ruling added to Henyard's growing list of legal and administrative troubles, further eroding confidence in her leadership.
Court. The judge today declining to hold her in contempt, but did warn her that if she did not follow the ruling, he would.
Perhaps the most damaging accusations against Tiffany Henyard were financial. A preliminary report on Dalton's finances revealed a troubling decline, with the township's general fund plunging from a healthy surplus to a significant deficit in just a few years under her leadership. Allegations of mismanagement and missing funds prompted widespread calls for an investigation. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, brought in as a special investigator, described the situation as dire, citing questionable spending patterns and a troubling lack of transparency in financial records. Henyard, unsurprisingly, dismissed the report as a political attack, accusing her opponents of conspiring to tarnish her reputation. Despite the mounting scandals, Henyard remained defiant. She frequently turned to social media, broadcasting live videos in which she passionately defended herself and lashed out at her critics. In one particularly fiery stream, she declared, "They don't want to see a strong black woman in power, but guess what? I'm not going anywhere." Her supporters rallied behind her, echoing her claims that she was the victim of unfair targeting. Her critics, however, saw these outbursts as further evidence of her inability to lead effectively, arguing that they underscored a lack of accountability and professionalism.
All this point the finger to Tiffany or allow me, I'm over it. Now it's time for me.
Things took an even darker turn when federal investigators began probing Henyard's administration. For months, rumors swirled about subpoenas and secret interviews with witnesses. The investigation reportedly centered on allegations of embezzlement, misuse of public funds, and obstruction of justice. The situation escalated with the arrest of one of Henyard's close allies, a high-ranking police officer, accused of bankruptcy fraud. This development sent shockwaves through the community, with many viewing it as a clear sign that the investigation was closing in on Henyard herself.
Dalton home that she leased to Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not paid her rent, and now she wants...
And then it happened. In the early hours of the morning, federal agents arrived at Tiffany Henyard's home and arrested her. Witnesses reported seeing her boyfriend, a controversial figure in his own right, watching as she was led away in handcuffs. While the specific charges remain under wraps, sources suggest they involve serious financial crimes and misconduct. The community's reaction was immediate and intense. Some residents celebrated, calling the arrest long overdue. One person commented online, "It's about time this sociopath is held accountable for stealing from the taxpayers." Others, however, rallied to her defense, arguing the arrest was politically motivated. One supporter wrote, "The community that elected her deserves her. This is just another example of powerful people trying to silence someone who's making waves." In the wake of Henyard's arrest, Thornton Township and Dalton Village are left grappling with the fallout. Her critics see this as a long-awaited opportunity to bring accountability and transparency to local government, while her supporters insist she has been unfairly targeted. The divide within the community is palpable, with emotions running high on both sides.
Henyard says she is endorsing a new board, but not announcing who they are just yet, instead promising to name them later this month. Henyard is under investigation by the FBI.
So, what happens now? Tiffany Henyard's case is certain to dominate headlines in the coming months as the legal process plays out. Will she fight the charges and proclaim her innocence? Or is this the end of her political career? And what does this mean for the future of Dalton and Thornton Township? One thing is clear, this saga is far from over. As residents reflect on Henyard's dramatic rise and fall, many are left wondering what could have been done differently and whether their community can recover from the turmoil. What do you think? Was Henyard unfairly targeted, or is this a long overdue reckoning for a leader who let power go to her head? Share your thoughts in the comments below. This story is still unfolding, and we'll be here to bring you the latest updates as they come. Stay tuned.